Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I do want to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered here today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation. My name is Leslie Cormack, and I am indeed the principal of UBC Okanagan. I really want to thank you for joining us for this 7th installment of the UBC Okanagan debate series, and the first one we have done as a matinee. So we'll see how this works. Since this series began in the spring of 2023, it's been dedicated to something that feels increasingly rare and increasingly essential: thoughtful, respectful, and well-informed dialogue about the issues shaping our world. What began as a focused initiative has now grown into something even more impactful, expanding to our Vancouver campus and extending its reach to a much broader community. We're especially proud to have played a role in championing civil discourse through this growth, helping to foster spaces where meaningful conversation can thrive. We have explored topics ranging from masculinity to climate change to Canada's evolving relationship with the United States. As you can see, all things that are fairly front of mind these days. Today, we're returning to a topic that launched the series itself: artificial intelligence. Few technologies have accelerated as quickly or cast as long a shadow over the future as AI. AI is touted as the solution to health, to productivity, to social community, and likewise is vilified as the beginning of human subservience to the age of the machine. I look forward to hearing our debaters' perspectives on this today. I know you all have, and certainly I have, questions about AI and how it will change our lives. For example, as the introduction of robotics fundamentally changed manufacturing, will AI upend the world of white-collar workers around the world? Will it bring more fulfilling work to some and a permanent underclass to others? Are the promises of AI overblown, or have we begun an evolution of society unlike any seen in the course of the 3 industrial revolutions we've witnessed throughout the last 300 years? My concern is that if we don't think about these issues and set up policies and guardrails before it's too late, we'll lose our ability to maintain what is important in the world and risk becoming dependent on technologies we cannot meaningfully control or fully understand. Now, you have the opportunity to form or reconsider your own perspective as you listen to the 4 remarkable experts taking the stage today. Each brings deep knowledge and sharply different perspectives to this discussion. Their role is not to agree, but to illuminate. And our role as a community is to listen, reflect with humility, and engage with curiosity rather than certainty. As I always said to my students, seek first to understand. And hopefully we can all understand a little bit more as we listen to these amazing debaters. Thank you all for being here and for contributing to the kind of civic dialogue that strengthens our society. I hope today's debate informs you, challenges you, and inspires you to think critically about the future of artificial intelligence and the future of human agency with renewed insight. And now I'll hand things off to our MC, Nathan Skolsky.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nathan Skolsky. I am your MC tonight. I'm also your moderator. Thank you and welcome to UBC Okanagan Debates. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. We really appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. 3 years ago, most people had a vague sense that AI was coming. Now it writes your emails, it generates images, tutors your kids, produces videos that you can't tell apart from the real thing. It moved fast, and most of us are still trying to catch up. For some, this is the most exciting development in a generation, a tool that could help cure diseases, close gaps in education, and free people from work that has never been particularly enriching in the first place. For others, it's something more troubling. a threat to the expertise we spent decades building, to the relationships that make life worth living, to our ability to trust what we see, hear, and read, and for some, our very sense of purpose and meaning. The question at the heart of this afternoon's debate is a simple one, even if the answer isn't. Will AI enhance the human experience or diminish it? Now, before we hear from our debaters, I'd like to hear from you. As you were settling in, there were two questions that were up on the screen, on the main screens here. If you missed them, that's okay, no worries. We'll have more questions coming up during the debate. And to take part, you can just head to slido.com and enter the event code UBCO Debates. But for now, I would like to see what your thoughts were on the two questions that we posed to you. The first question was, do you believe that AI will enhance or diminish the human experience? So, this is interesting, actually, rather optimistic, although most people are maybe unsure. So about 40% saying enhanced, 18% saying diminish, and about half of you aren't quite sure yet. That's fair enough. The next question was, how would you describe your thoughts on AI in just one word? Interesting. So potential and uncertainty, curious, cautious, scary, those kind of fit with what I would have assumed based on the previous answers. Scary seems to be the one that's coming up the most. So that's interesting. That helps give our debaters on stage a little bit of context for where you, the audience, is as they make their arguments. So we'll check back in with you later to see whether our debaters managed to change any minds here in the audience and to ask for your help in shaping the conversation to come. So a quick word on the format. We have 4 debaters on stage this afternoon working in teams of 2. One side will argue that AI is enhancing the human experience. The other will argue that it's diminishing it. I should note a very important principle in our debates. The debaters were asked to commit to their assigned positions for the full debate. So the arguments you hear today are in service of giving you the sharpest and the most honest version of each side. Think of it kind of like a stress test for the ideas and arguments, not a statement of personal belief of any one debater. As with all our debates, there are no winners and there are no losers. These conversations exist for you, the audience, to hear strong arguments, weigh them against your own experience, and draw your own conclusions. So, the time has come. Let's welcome our expert debaters to the stage and begin today's debate. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, you'll hear 2 very different perspectives on how we should view AI. One side arguing that AI is enhancing the human experience, the other is arguing that it will diminish it. So let's meet our debaters, starting first from my very far left. We have arguing that AI will diminish the human experience. First up, we have Rob Capello. Rob is a marketing strategist and AI advisor with over 20 years' experience helping organizations navigate change. He works at the intersection of technology, strategy, and human behavior, challenging how AI is adopted, who it serves, and what we risk losing when efficiency outpaces intention. Rob's debating partner is Dr. Madeline Ransom. Madeline is a philosopher whose research examines the value of human expertise amid AI experts and how it supports individual well-being and a flourishing society. She leads an interdisciplinary project on trustworthy AI through UBC's Digital Transparency Research Excellence Cluster. A bit of a mouthful. So thank you to the side of Diminish. And presenting the case that AI will enhance the human experience. First up, we have Dr. Ying Zhu. Ying holds graduate degrees in marketing management and computer science. She drives interdisciplinary innovation. Leading UBC's AI for Business initiatives, Ying launched an AI micro-credential, pioneered AI courses, and delivers workshops to immigrants and nonprofits, advocating ethical AI to empower students, faculty, and industry. And Ying's debating partner is Dr. Bulent Uyanaker. Bulett is the founder of BC-based Data Speckle Incorporated and a senior AI researcher at Fuse Machines in New York. With a PhD in physics from Max Planck Bonn and 50-plus peer-reviewed publications, he leads computer vision, AI, LLM, and simulation projects across healthcare, aviation, analytics, and supply chains. So what a breadth of experience and expertise we have on stage tonight. So please join me in giving them a warm welcome. As per our agreed order of speakers, I'm first going to call on Dr. Ying Zhu for her 3-minute opening statement. Ying will present the case that AI is enhancing the human experience.
Okay, thank you so much for attending today's event. Before I start my statement, I would like to ask you a few questions. And because I'm not able to see your face, I would ask you to do a round of applause after I state all the questions I have for you. So, have you used Google Maps to navigate? Have you used your face to unlock your phone? Have you purchased any product recommended by Amazon? A few. Okay. Last one, have you talked to Siri recently? Amazing. So I really love your, thanks for participating and applause. If you say yes to any one of those questions, you're already using AI. So if you like those apps, your life has already been enhanced by AI. And AI is not ChatGPT, and AI is not a new concept. I asked my students, some of them said, oh, AI, is it like a 2020 concept? No, it's not. AI actually has been first used in 1956. So that's 70 years of concept. And AI, just like the concept of business, it's not a single component, it's a blanket of concept. When we talk about business, we think about finance, accounting, marketing, supply chain management, operations management. When we talk about AI, so what is AI? In a general term, AI is a machine who can think, learn, act like human beings. And how can AI be so powerful? It's because of the algorithm and the component behind it. For instance, machine learning, large language model, natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, and generative AI. So we talk about ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? It's Gen AI, stands for generative AI. So what can AI generate? Well, if you use ChatGPT, give me a round of applause. Okay. So you're using one of the components with Gen AI. You generate text, image, video, audio, and you're actually using all the algorithm that's under AI to enhance your life. So for instance, if we think about different categories, medicine, we all need to thank AI for coming up with COVID vaccine, the cure, because AI machine learning expedites the cure of the vaccine we all get. And AI can allow us personalized medicine in the future, allow individual tutoring in education system, can dramatically increase our productivity. If you're an immigrant in Canada, you can use your own language to comprehend all the government documents instead of using English. So AI is already here, it's already enhancing our life, and it's gonna keep enhancing our life into the future. Thank you, that's my statement.
Thank you very much, Ying. It's a strong start to tonight's debate. I noticed that you also got the audience to applaud for you continuously, so well done. Moving on, we're going to switch sides, and I'd like to invite Dr. Madeline Ransom to present her opening statement, making the case that AI is diminishing the human experience.
Thank you. So I want to start out by saying with the rise of AI, we're making ourselves and we're making our democracies vulnerable in ways that we don't fully understand. So I'm going to talk a bit about a few of those ways. The first thing I want to talk about is addiction. And I'm going to take a page from your book, Ying. Who here is a little bit addicted to their smartphones? Clap! Yeah. Not something you probably want to celebrate. But with AI chatbots, guess what? Your smartphones are going to get way more addictive, and there are going to be other standalone technologies that are also going to be even more addictive. And even though we're in the early days of AI chatbots, we've already seen some really troubling results. People with no mental health histories who have extended periods of engagement with chatbots and end up in psychosis with delusional beliefs. We have kids committing suicide. We have AI companions where their partners, human partners, are abandoning their own human partners. And so there's this sense in which so long as big tech, so long as profit is the business model in those cases, then we remain addicted. And when we remain addicted, we do not have autonomy anymore. We don't even have autonomy over what's happening in our own brains. And this is a feature, not a bug, of these technologies. Okay, the second thing I want to focus on today is how AI can undermine autonomy in ways that are a threat to democracy. And AI allows, as you all know, for the accumulation of massive amounts of data upon us. And the Cambridge Analytica scandal is going to seem quaint, for those of you who remember it, compared to the very sophisticated political profiling that can occur thanks to AI. And our democracies are not prepared against this currently. Finally, what I want to talk about is how AI compromises our autonomy through surveillance and monitoring. These things aren't new. This has been going on for a long time. But AI takes it to the next level because AI can gather new kinds of data and integrate that data for more efficient and more widespread surveillance. You may have seen that a few days ago, Anthropic, the maker of the large language model Claude, was denied a government contract with the Pentagon in the United States. And the reason is because they had two simple conditions in there that they didn't want the United States government to violate. The first was, please don't spy on US citizens. Do not conduct massive domestic surveillance. And then the second was, please don't use our technology to kill people through autonomous warfare. For those of you who've been following along, they denied both conditions. So any threat to human democracy is a threat to our well-being, and we should be very, very worried about these recent developments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Madeline. Next, we return to the AI is enhancing the human experience side. Dr. Bulent Yanniker, I welcome you to share your 3-minute opening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think everyone is asking a question. Maybe I should ask a question as well. How many of you come with their horses, riding their horses or carts? You did drive, right? Why did you drive? Because it makes things a lot faster, because it's the technology. You can use technology in any way possible. Democracies are not static entities. They adopt. We have seen this in the past. We have seen in the history so many times. We have seen plagues. We have seen wars that are scarred the continents. Democracy is just an idea that we can build things with. But technology is a totally different thing. And we need to really think about this technology. Most of the time when we talk about technology, especially a technology like AI, we think that is an entity that came from somewhere else. AI did not descend from the stars. We built it with our own hands. It has a lot of human sweat, trial, and understanding, and human ingenuity. So this is something we build. This is something we can shape. It's like a hammer, born of our hands. It has no soul. It has no hidden ambitions. It does not have any desires of its own. So we cannot really attribute those things to a technology. We have had so many different technologies in the past. You can think of that. Medicine, aviation, railroads, nuclear power plants. Any of those had issues at the beginning. But if you simply look at how we tackle with those issues, with protocols, with guardrails, with understanding the dangers of those technologies, we were able to tame those giants, and we were able to make these things really useful for our lives. What we measure, if something is enhancing our lives, is basically looking at what is the lifespan of humankind, what is the prosperity level, what is the GDP? Usually that's measured with those kind of numbers if you would like to look at. If you look at those numbers from 1900 onwards, there are charts, there are studies on that. Just look at Sam Preston's chart. It's a very, very, very well-known chart. It is showing us that all these technologies, railroad to medicine, increased the human life from 30 years to 70, 75 years today. Increased the GDP from $1,000 from 1900 to $17,000 today. It is changing our lives. That is true. We are not used to change. This is something we don't like. But this is something we have to adopt. This is how our democracies adopt. This is how we adopt the technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, to close the round of opening statements, I'd like to invite Rob Capello to present his opening statement on the side that AI is diminishing the human experience.
I'm not going to ask any questions. But let me start with something important. I use AI, I advise AI, and I believe AI will unlock extraordinary capability. But believing in a technology doesn't mean we have to be naive to the trajectory. There's a question that gets debated a lot today, and I think it lands to the heart of what we're talking about. If humans are so intelligent, why are we so stupid? Intelligence doesn't protect us from bad decisions if the information we consume is bad. So if you give someone highly intelligent junk inputs, you're probably going to get junk outputs. And today, we're being flooded with distortion, with manipulation, and content engineered for engagement rather than truth. Truth is a small subset of what we actually see and hear. Some stats show that 20% of what we read online or see online is actually verified facts. So now you enter AI, put AI into the equation. AI is described as just another tool, we hear. But that framing to me is incomplete. A hammer doesn't just decide how to use itself. So increasingly, AI does. We're not just upgrading software. We're inserting autonomous systems into our hiring and lending and journalism and education. So even companionship, which we'll talk about later. And the first thing that destabilizes when we do that is trust. Yet trust in institutions has been declining, while trust in algorithms have been increasing. AI makes influence cheap and scalable. You can produce content very quickly. And that's not just misinformation. That puts pressure on trust. And a society where everything must be constantly verified is brittle. We just can't do that. Now move from public trust to institutional trust. AI is being deployed aggressively or for efficiency and ROI. If you guys might have read, Block, a fintech company, recently announced layoffs of over 4,000 employees, almost 40% of their workforce gone, citing advances in AI tools that allow smaller teams to be more efficient. But those junior roles are where the expertise are developed. You remove them and you may increase output, but where's the knowledge going to be transferred from? And as decision-making becomes automated, accountability drifts. And if an AI denies your loan or flags you as fraudulent, who is it to blame? Who are you pointing the fingers at? And for me, here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not the AI that I worry about, it's us. According to reports, just yesterday, the US military used Claude for intelligence purposes, as well as to help select targets and carry out battlefield simulations, just yesterday. So, do we trust the people building and deploying these systems? Under competitive pressures, under shareholder pressure, under geopolitical pressure, are we truly optimizing for human flourishing? Are we smart enough to use AI for good, or just smart enough to build it and stupid enough to deploy without thinking through the consequences? The question isn't whether AI can enhance tasks. It totally can. I agree. The question is whether the current trajectory diminishes the foundations of human society. And if we're honest about how it's being deployed today, I'm scared to say the answer might be yes.
Well, thank you very much to all of our debaters for your opening statements. We're going to move into, I have some questions, so we're going to move into those. We've broken this down into a few different themes. The first one I want to touch on is around changes to the workforce, because I think this is one that most people are thinking quite a lot about these days. And my first question I'm going to actually give to you, Bulent, if that's okay. Staring at a screen for 8 hours a day entering data or managing spreadsheets, it's hard to argue that this is the peak of human experience. I'm sure there's some Excel users in the crowd who are deeply offended by me saying that. But freeing people from the drudgery, that assumes that freed up time goes somewhere else, somewhere more useful. So if AI is taking away that tedious work, what have we lost and what have we gained, do you think?
It certainly goes somewhere else. But what is happening is, when we have new technology or new tools, that we start doing things anew, what's happening is the definition of that mastery, the definition of that skill set changes. Sometimes we actually don't need those skills anymore. Think about scribers. They used to write all these books until the advent of the printing press. We lost them. Yes, true, we lost them. But do we think that that's a big loss for humanity? We need to really don't think about just what's happening per individual profession or something. What is happening in society, how our society is prospering and going forward. We can just extend this, and we can always say that, oh, okay, machinery is too bad. That has happened actually in the past. People demolished the textile machines because they thought that's going to kill the skill sets where the textile workers used to have. Today, we don't need that kind of skill set. So we need to really be aware of how we are going to be adapting to those things. Yes, we may not be able to use Excel, but we didn't have Excel some time ago. And tomorrow, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a tool like Excel. Why are we stuck with that?
That's a good question. Or Rob or Madeline.
I wanted to just
go ahead.
Up, Rich. I wish that AI was just taking away the tedious work, but it's not. It's taking away the creative work. It's taking away the work that is of value to us as humans, and it's taking away knowledge work, and that we should be really concerned about.
That is actually not true.
Tell me why.
Usually, when we talk about creativity, we come up with some hearsay. We say, oh, AI is going to kill all of us. It's going to gobble all the jobs. We are not going to be thinking anymore. But going back to the same technology issue, having cars did not make our legs redundant. We are still walking. Creativity is a totally different thing. Creativity does not really necessarily be confined in some certain tools or some certain ways. Creativity, interestingly, there was a study last month. It is published by Science magazine. You can see that. If you don't have creativity to start with, if your education system is not preparing you for being creative, you can never be creative at all. But AI, or any other tool, it doesn't matter what it is, can actually prepare you, bring to a level that is above the average. It has been tested among so many people. It's just published in Science magazine. You can just Google, find that article. The only problem with that is, I'm not trying to paint a rosy picture here as well. The only problem with that is, it is simply kind of lessening the diversity. But if you are not trained for this is a wonderful tool to make you just above some certain creative level. Let's not forget, photography did not kill painting. It gave us Picasso.
So I do want to bring up something, Rob, that you mentioned in your opening statement, which was there's already some statistics out there of companies making mass layoffs. So you mentioned, I can't remember which one, it was 4,000 jobs. We've seen the same in Salesforce as another example. Where I would maybe ask you about that or push back a tiny bit is, are those jobs actually being lost to AI, or is AI being blamed for other factors? So I guess the question is this actually happening the way you describe?
Well, I mean, I agree. I think there probably is part of it is it's the easy thing to say is AI is replacing. But that being said, I think that the jobs that are being lost are the entry-level jobs. And to me, that's where we call that the mundane work, but that's where people learn. Like that's where lawyers, like before you're a lawyer, you have to do the hard work. You got to learn the case. You got to file. You got to they're eliminating those jobs with AI. If we are eliminating those jobs with AI, what's happening to those people? How are they going to become the lawyer or the doctor when they don't get to do the mundane work? Like I don't know, growing up, when I got into my first work, I had to do all the grunt work. That's the way you learn. And then you move up into your company. And I feel like those jobs, maybe even if they're being blamed on AI and it's not, they're still blaming it on AI, and they might be replacing it with AI. And I just think it's an important role we're losing. Like I think when you just say we say that it's just the entry-level jobs, I'm like, well, what happens to the entry-level people then? Like where are they going? And I argue the other side of being AI is 100%. Like I said, I use it every day, but we say that it's going to free up time. These mundane tasks are going to free up time. So if I'm a doctor and I'm going to free up time, if the doctor used that time to go work on their bedside manners, awesome. I suspect what's going to happen is it's going to mean more patients, more cases, more output. That's all it's going to mean. I use AI and I feel like I'm busier than I've ever been because you're just trying to produce more work with it. So I think that I agree. Back to answer your question, Nathan, is like some of it is probably just being blamed on AI, but it still is. And it's work that's super important because it's the people that are coming out of our universities that need to learn that skill before they move on.
So again, I want to go back to you because you actually are training the young people that are going out into the workplace. So I'm curious your views on this.
Okay, before I give my view, I want to give you a set of statistics. So the World Economic Forum 2025 Future of Jobs report project that AI will create 170 million new jobs, which displacing 92 million old jobs, which means we're going to get a net gain of 78 million positions. So think about, Biolan mentioned the technology movement. So when we think about, internet, well, at that time, some people think, internets have nothing to do with me. I would never be using internet. So reflect back. Are those people using internet? When there's the first laptop come up, people's like, I don't need that machine. I will never use that. So is everyone using it? So same thing. When internet first come, can we imagine there's an Uber driver? There's a DoorDash? There's like any other like Airbnb and all like. Can we even imagine e-commerce, Amazon online shopping? We buy books online. So how many jobs and travel, like the travel agency and so all the digitalized things, we can create our own YouTube channels, we can create our own videos, and we can put our own tutoring online. Have we ever thought of those jobs when first people come up with terminology or internet? That's something you can do digitally. So the same thing for AI. All I'm saying is we actually don't know 5, 10 years down the road what kind of jobs we'll create by AI and what that might look like. It's hard to imagine. But when AI keep moving, we're definitely going to replace a lot of old jobs. Like, for instance, Uber drivers can be replaced by a Waymo car if you've been to California, San Francisco, looking at the Waymo car. Well, some of the jobs, especially repetitive and tedious jobs, will be replaced by AI. Like, there's already robot hands picking up the apples. So what's wrong by replacing those jobs? So I want to also argue about creativity. I love to write a song and write the lyrics go with the song, but but I don't have music training. Guess what? With AI tools, I can do that. I'm always dream of making some movies. Now with the AI tool, I can do that. So it frees up people who would never have the opportunity and tools to unleash their creativity. Now you can do it. There's a 3D printed design software. You can design your own clothes with 3D printer. You can have your customized dresses. So it just launches all the potentials in human society, and it will create unimaginable jobs, new jobs. So I don't know what's the concern. So I think AI is enhancing life.
I have a.
So I did want to throw it to Madeline, just on, because if I sum up that argument a little bit, it seems like there's almost an expansion of expertise and a greater access to expertise to people who might not have had it before. So what do you say to that? And the jobs that we're talking about, are they good jobs? Are they enjoyable?
Well, okay, so I got a few things here I'd like to say. First of all, for people who are working in the arts and working to create things, shifting to become a prompt engineer sounds like a dystopia. So if you talk to artists saying, hey, you know what, instead of doing it yourself, why don't you just prompt Gemini to make you a nice picture? That is not a high quality valuable job. The second thing I want to say is that I wish that we could trust corporations to just employ those junior level people out of the goodness of their hearts instead of doing what they are already doing, which is laying people off when their jobs can be done by AI. And I want to emphasize that this is not the same as a car or a hammer. This is an epistemic technology. This is a technology, so specifically right now talking about LLMs, they are mimicking human thought. And this is a whole new kind of technology for us. There is creativity. Some people deny that LLMs can be creative. I don't think that's true. They are genuinely creative. And so then the question is, how do we deploy them? And in certain contexts, maybe you're creating a song or something, it doesn't really matter if the LLM is reliable. But now let's shift that over to the law. Do you want to be represented by an LLM, or do you want to be represented by a human who can vet that, who has the expertise to look through the case law, and figure out if the judge is going to be compelled by that? Is it even true? Is it a hallucination? We need human experts with human abilities to be able to make sure that these tools are correct. So we can't just abandon these systems of apprenticeship, and we cannot trust corporations to give us those systems of human apprenticeship.
So,
excellent.
Buland, I know you want to respond. I did pass over Rob just before.
Because you made a comment about jobs are being created in 5 years, we don't know what jobs might be available. So what do you say to a student who's starting their university career today, and maybe the job they're going to be in 4 years is not even in existence? So they're going to go through to become a lawyer, and that job is not there in 4 years because AI has replaced it. What happens to that student that's gone through the education system?
He should go to another university, trust me.
So he's going to go to 8 years. So we're going to have school of 8 to 10 years before they can find a job.
Okay,
if your education system is not preparing you for future, then you should ditch them. Trust me.
I like
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I love your question. So before we move from 5 to 10 years, currently, if you're a student, AI is not taking your jobs. It's other students who know how to use AI will take your job. If you're currently employed, it's not AI taking your job. It's other people on the job market who can use AI will come for your jobs. So what 5, 10 years down the road? Because AI is dynamic process, it's a moving target. It's hard for us to set up the skill set that, oh, that's going to be definitely bring you to success in 5, 10 years. There's no specific technical things I can predict, but what I can predict is critical thinking style and problem-solving skills. And we really need to cultivate this human element. Guess what? When AI can replace majority of the jobs, What left for human is the most critical decision-making process. Hypothetically, a construction company will launch the AI to put out the proposal request, and all the contractors gonna use their AI agent to come up with the proposals. And there'll be back and forth negotiation by AIs. Guess what? Human gonna sign that 1 billion contract and make that decision. So what left for students? I cannot say what jobs you definitely have, because there can be a robot hand replace doctors with surgeries. There could be other services that human don't need to do, like customer service. There's AI agent already doing customer service. What left for us is human connections, companionship, the relationship building, emotion intelligence, capability to communicate. If there's jobs still exist in the company, say 3 years down the road, will be the salespeople, especially in B2B setting. Salespeople build this long-term relationship and trust. Trust is a foundation for any business. If you have trust, everything goes smooth, easy, and you're gonna have recurring customers. If you don't have trust, there's nothing there. Can AI replace the trust? I don't think so. Trust only exists in humans because AI, what's behind AI? It's equations, it's numbers, it's algorithm. There's no human. They don't suffer, they don't have emotion. They cannot resonate with you. They cannot build this rapport with you. Only human can do that. And what I want to tell Rob is, if anyone have kids, make sure your kids is resilient and comfortable with changing environment on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Something they learn now may completely change down the road. They just need to build this massive reading things, learning things. One thing I'm in the AI enhancement aspect, but as a human, if we learn, we have to go through the struggle phase. So let your kids struggle. Let them to be resilient. Let them to think out of the box. So why we think about self-driving car? Why can't we have self-flying? Why do we have to call it car? Self-flying machine. You can go from Kelowna to Vernon in 5 minutes. I don't know. So make them curious. Make them creative. Give them problem. Ask them to solve. I think the education institution going to do that too.
Yeah, so I mean, asking your kids to struggle, I understand the argument, but then it also presumes that they're going to have an entry-level job in which they can struggle.
Yeah.
And so I would throw to you.
Can I just respond to two things quickly?
Yes, of course.
Because Ying, I absolutely agree with you. So I teach critical thinking. And one of the things that I've observed in my classroom anecdotally and heard about from other people who teach critical thinking is that students are coming in less prepared. Why are they coming in less prepared? Could anybody guess what technology they might be relying upon in their high schools, and that high school teachers are not prepared to provide full guidance on? Students, when they can find a shortcut, they're developing. When they can find a shortcut, they're going to use it. And so what we find is that AI is actually making students less prepared to engage in critical thinking. And the other thing I just wanted to respond is that, yes, I absolutely agree with you that trust is fundamental. Trust is the way in which our society functions. We all have to trust people, and we hope that they are trustworthy. We have to trust institutions. And again, we want to make sure that they're trustworthy. But then when it comes down to companies, we cannot trust them to maintain the systems of expertise that we need in order for AI to be truly trustworthy over time when they're focused on their bottom line. And currently, the way companies are set up, that is their focus. So we need legislation to be able to align their incentives with trustworthy AI.
So I think so I do want to pick up on the idea of trust, and this is one of the themes that I wanted to touch on. We were talking about this quite a lot, so I think it's a good idea for us to talk about this. And I want to talk about things like deepfakes. As we've seen, there's conflict in the Middle East at the moment, and one of the things, we're talking about this backstage, one of the things that we're increasingly worried about is whether we can trust what we're seeing online, whether we can trust the videos that are coming out and the photos that are coming out. And so the question I have really is this a problem of deep fakes, or is it like really around the exhaustion from all of us asking, that we have to ask, is this real in the first place? So are we just creating a permanent state of suspicion? Is that degrading our everyday life? I'm going to throw it maybe to this side first. What would you say to the prevalence of deep fakes and misinformation, disinformation?
Okay, so before I answer that question, I want to differentiate two things. There's AI problems that's specific to AI, and there's a societal problem that's not relevant to AI, it exists all along. Before AI, is there a propaganda? Is there a misinformation? Are people lying? Are there's criminals? So those are societal problems. I think AI does make the situation, amplify the situation. So deepfake, we all know it can make videos, audios, but for instance, Google actually launched their software. They allow you to make music, but they also put invisible symbols inside the music. It can be told by machine that it is machine generated, it's not human generated. So that being said, it got me thinking, maybe the paradoxical issue is later on, when you cannot trust any information, you will go offline, build more connections, and ask people, real humans, your friends, your families, your community members, your colleagues, for references. Like, for instance, if everyone's cover letter is beautiful, everyone's resume is fantastic, spotless, and who can I trust? I will go to my friends and say, hey, do you know any student you actually know? Do you know any employer who are really good at their work? I would just hire them. So this is not necessarily a bad thing because we're already disconnected. The loneliness and isolation in the society is a pandemic. Maybe because no one can trust anything online, we start to talking to people in the coffee shop, build our own professional networks. And at that time, comes back to what I said, the human capabilities, the emotional intelligence, the communication skills, the critical thinking skills, the creativities, the curiosity, human-centric characteristics will play such a bigger role even when deepfake is coming.
So that's an interesting point. Rob, I'm going to throw it to you. I mean, this idea that we're going to get pushed from this online space full of deepfakes into actual human relationships again. Do you buy that?
No. I think we're living in a euphoria. I would love to say yes, and I'd love to say that, because I agree. I mean, we work with clients in marketing where we say that what makes you different is your brand, it's who you are, bring yourself out there, but how many actually do it? Like, we say that because, to me, I agree that this isn't necessarily just an AI problem, there's a human problem. Lies have been around forever. Propaganda spread everywhere. Do we know any politician has lied before? But the problem is now they can amplify it with AI. Now they can create so much propaganda online and throw it at us, and we don't know what's real and what's not. That's the concern I have. And to me, it's like, I'm actually less worried about people believing everything online. I'm actually worried that we don't believe anything anymore. And I think that's a bigger problem with society, is that now we're struggling to even know what's real. And I think pushing that to, we're going to go into coffee shops and talk, which would be amazing if we are, but I just feel as humans we're not doing it because we're getting pushed with this information constantly. We're talking in agreement about this. What's going on right now? We were at dinner on Friday, and there was a family talking about just sports, but there was probably an 8 or 9-year-old kid with his dad, and he says to his dad, "Oh, Dad, that's an AI video." And this kid's 8 or 9, and he's saying that already. That's a problem with it. And that's where I'm concerned, is that, yes, it isn't a human AI problem. It's an AI problem. The AI is amplifying the propaganda and the lies online. So it's tough to see what's real and what's not.
So, Bulent, I'm going to...
Yeah.
Bulent, I'm going to throw to you. What's your take?
Well, it is surprising to hear that we are having the conversation that big companies want us to do. Because there are two ways of promising something. You know that from marketing, Rob. I want to tell you something. There is one way I can tell you that AI, or whatever that is going to gobble up, is going to eat you. You're not going to survive this. The idea is you need to invest in us. You need to buy our product so that we can save you. Or I can just paint a rosy picture. I can say that this is going to solve all your problems. I'm going to sell fear or fantasy. This is the conversation people want us to have. This is not the conversation we should be having. If we were afraid, if the sailormen were afraid of water, we wouldn't be able to discover new continents. It wouldn't be possible to do anything. It wouldn't be possible to fly. We cannot really start our decision-making from fear. Fear cracks the door for manipulation. They can easily manipulate you. We have seen so many different times, so many difficult times, and humankind tested with so many difficulties. Every time, we came out wiser. We will find ways. If railroads are not working very well, we simply go with regulations. If medicine is not really doing things very well, we go for routine monitoring. Do you know how much routine monitoring reduced the fatality in the last 20 years? 50 times. There are always ways to mitigate these things, but fear cannot be our motivation. We cannot start with fear. This is not our human quality. Our human quality is coming from curiosity, going forward. If we can't think forward, we can never go anywhere. Think about two tribes. One discovered the fire. Another one started discussing whether fire is going to make them less human, while the other tribe built a civilization. So we should really think forward. We do have all these human qualities. Think about this. We have artificial intelligence that is mimicking algorithmically the human thought somehow. But we don't have artificial curiosity. Curiosity is something that we inherently have. We should trust on our human qualities. All the other things algorithmically can be made, can be done, tackled with. Let AI, let someone else do it. You have the time to do more things. Think about, in 1900s, the regular work week was about 60 hours. Today, it's not.
So, I mean, it's...
It's not? It's not?
What is it?
Are you sure?
What is it?
It's about 15 hours a week, I think. Right? Oh, my boss is in the audience. I shouldn't. But I mean, it's this idea of that propaganda has been around for a long time, and forgeries have been around, and society has survived. I mean, that's true, but it also took centuries of war and conflict and institutional reform to get there. So maybe put it to this side. I mean, do we have that kind of time, especially if Claude is being given the trigger to weapons?
No. I wanted to add a few things that have come up in the conversation. First, I think that there is a problem with AI slop being just overwhelming our human systems of communication. So yes, there's always been propaganda, but the scale right now is going to, and in the near future, is going to be overwhelming. And then I think there are new kinds of threats that are coming out. So for those of you who have been paying attention, there was an AI agent so this is an AI that is acting on behalf of a human to carry out tasks, and it autonomously, it was denied access to a certain forum, and so it autonomously went out and created content to slander the person who denied the AI access to the forum. Imagine that on a grand scale, where all of a sudden AI can go and focus on a target and create all kinds of slanderous and defamatory content. We're not prepared for that. And then the last thing that I wanted to add out there is that we need to go back to system. We've seen how journalism has been gutted, and some of those things have nothing to do with AI. However, we need to go back to systems of human trustworthy professionals who've been trained in ethics, who can put boots on the ground, local journalism, national journalism, who can create chains of trustworthy content for us, so that we're not there.
So,
Can I add something very quickly?
so Rob works for a media company, so he's clapping along. But does that not, would you not, is there not an argument there that says that this actually creates an opportunity for that to happen? Is that not a benefit to AI?
So the benefit to AI is that we run away from AI and start connecting with each other directly to ask what's going on. AI is supposed to make us, is supposed to help with human flourishing. And a lot of the people who developed these technologies were very sincere in their aims. And so now we've come to a point where we're seeing those aims being diverted and towards harmful, very short-term thinking kinds of uses. And if we want to think about things in the bigger picture, there are opportunities to use AI to help connect us, to help strengthen human relations, to help provide more access to trustworthy content so we can make up our minds for ourselves. But right now, we don't have those structures in place. So it's not that AI can't help humans flourish, it's that right now we're on a path where it's not going to if we leave things as is. We can change things, but this is part of the conversation, right? This is helping us to realize how we can change things.
But you're saying that society is lagging behind the technology. That's what you were basically saying.
I don't think technology is neutral. So you had this sort of analogy before, you can use a hammer for anything. But we design, we encode values in technologies. And so you can think of a gun, it's a tool, but guess what? It's designed to hurt whoever it's aimed at. And in the case of social media, we saw that the design features that were built into social media were actually designed to keep us engaged and to keep us hooked and to keep us addicted and lower our autonomy. That wasn't an accident. That was on purpose. And so we can look now at AI and we can find lots of uses of AI that are designed to keep us engaged and that are designed to diminish our experience.
So I do. So I'm conscious of time. We have a lot of themes to get through. One of the things that you touched on, Madeline, was this idea of human relationships. This is one of the themes. It's really around this idea that there are millions of people out there that are using AI as a companion, as emotional support. Now, of course, the loneliness epidemic predates AI, certainly by decades. But if someone is genuinely isolated and an AI companion helps them to cope, is that filling a need or is it papering over one? What should we be embracing this as a solution for some folks? Ying, I'll ask you that.
Well, imagine an old person in a rural area and with no kids around and no one to talk to. Would you be okay this person have a conversation with AI and get some empathy and even have that human-like replies to keep this person engaged with human conversation? So we understand, there's a lot of awful cases happen about people relying on AI companionship, but it's context-based. So a dying person don't have any family member on the bedside. Is it okay to have AI robot to have conversation with them to make them feel a little bit better about their day? I think it can fill some needs. But that being said, in those circumstances, it's okay to have AI as a companion. But the reason we have today's conversation is we want everyone to know there's no human behind AI. It's just algorithm and equations. So it can pretend it gave you the companion and emotions, but you need to educate your kids, or if you have teenagers or high school kids, there's no human behind that. And back to our earlier point, AI can enhance human life in the sense, if you want to know how to better build a friendship, you can ask AI, hey, I want to know what are the things I do my friends would like. So if you see your partner have a really really sad day, you can ask AI, hey, my partner is very sad. Is there any solutions and suggestions you can give me so I can cheer that person up? Or in the worst scenario, you guys have argument and fights. You can go to AI and say, hey, I had a fight, and what would be the good way to communicate? So AI can be used in a very creative ways in a relationship. It doesn't necessarily need to be, oh, I have to build a relationship with AI. There's no relationship. It's just one-way mirror, because it's only you. On the other side, it's large language model. They put words together and make you feel better. So don't do that. But you can always use AI, help me with communication, help me with my first date, help me how to better communicate and give a list of gifts I can give my partners or loved ones. So there's a lot of different creative ways to use AI, but please don't use AI as your companion.
So I'm going to throw a question to you, Rob, actually. But I can't help but think of someone who might be in a rural setting, or maybe a senior who might not have the same kind of networks that, we're all lucky we're here in person, likely we came with someone. If you don't have the luxury of those kinds of relationships in your life, is AI a bad thing? Can it provide something that they're not getting elsewhere?
Well, first of all, if I told my wife that I asked ChatGPT about something, how I'm feeling, to tell her, I'd probably get in trouble, first of all. So I know better than that, for sure. But I think that I agree that there's potential where there's an opportunity to have AI help in situations where there's, an elder that's stuck somewhere that maybe they have no one around them. I would hope, though, to me, that's a societal issue that we need to fix, that AI is not going to fix. Because my concern is, I was just listening to a podcast about this on how robots are going to help our parents age in place. Because you can have a robot at home, and my mom can stay at home because there's a robot there. And I'm like, but then what do you lose? I lose that connection with my mom, because part of what I'm doing is we should be there for our elders, right? We should be learning from them. We should be passing that to the different generation. If we let a robot do it, and a robot, sure, it can maybe make sure it's cooking meals for the person, but I still feel like we're missing something. I think we're going to miss something there. So to answer your question, could it? Sure, but I don't think it's the right thing, because these large language models, has anyone played with ChatGPT and asked it a question? Doesn't it always tell you that you're the most amazing thing on earth? Right? It always gives you oh my gosh, Rob, that's a great idea. I'm like, really? I have no bad ideas. I'm brilliant. So these models are actually trained, back to what you're saying, they're trained like that for a reason. And yes, there's no humans behind them, but there's humans behind them. Each one of them have a bias. And it's typically from the person that's managing that. Because to me, there's a lot, if there was more ambulance of the world that are doing good with AI, it would be amazing. But guess what? These large language models are controlled by the billionaires. And you tell me, you're telling me that there's no slant on what they're controlling, what's being pushed out? They're not much. So that's where my concern comes, Nathan, is that now you're going to put an agent into an elder, and what if there's a bias in there that now we're losing that connection with humans that we should have? To me, that's a society issue, not an AI issue necessarily. So.
You need to check the market, though, because those big billionaires, those big algorithms, none of them is profitable today.
I agree.
There's an issue with
I
that
agree.
one.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that. Yep. And all these issues, you're asking a question to LLM, and LLM reflects back at you. So it's just consider AI like a mirror. You're looking at a mirror, and you're seeing your facial expressions on that mirror, and you're mad at it. It's not the fault of the mirror. You're just misunderstanding how LLM works. If you like to figure out how LLM works, try to complete this sentence. Mary had a little
Lamb.
Why? Why do you think it's lamb? Why it's not wolf? Because it is your training data. Your training data dictates that it should be the lamb. It shouldn't be the wolf. But if you have the power, where this information is coming from? Internet. Since when you are trusting the information that is coming from internet? Why? Because there are small language models now doing totally the opposite. If you have the power to taint the data that is coming from internet, let's say the power of a country, you can actually inject information to internet saying that Mary actually had a giraffe. You can do that. And probabilistically, you need to understand, these models are probabilistic. If you have 10% of your data saying that is a giraffe over there, the algorithm will tell 10% of the time that Mary actually had a giraffe. So you need to understand the limitations of the tool that you're using.
Can I
yeah.
just pick up
Yeah,
on
of
a
course,
few
yeah.
things about AI companions that haven't been touched on? So the first
Yes.
thing I want to talk about is so I agree it can be beneficial in cases where people really don't have another option. However, what about teenagers who have maybe social anxiety? We're seeing increasing levels of teenagers interacting with chatbots as friends. So in some apps, there are actually chatbots that are meant to serve as a friend, so something like Snapchat. Their one big worry is that when they begin to interact with AI as a companion, it's going to skew a very important sort of developmental window there. And we're going to see kinds of difficulty with those teenagers actually being able to form bonds, reciprocal bonds, with people, as opposed to these one-sided kinds of friendship where you're the center of the universe. And so I think that we should be very careful about those populations in particular. The second thing I wanted to say is, imagine that lonely person in that rural area who has no one to talk to. Now they're talking to a chatbot. The chatbot's not regulated. What's happening to that data? We haven't talked about data privacy yet. And it is actually quite frightening to think about the profile that a chatbot can build of you just based on what kind of words you use to type your query, what kind of information you're including there. It can tell a lot, and of course it's gathering locational information. So having a conversation with a chatbot is like having a conversation with a spy, because all of your data is getting reported back to the company. And in some cases, it's getting sold. So that poor, lonely person who is relying and becoming vulnerable and developing what they think is intimacy with this companion bot, what happens when that information is used to manipulate them? Maybe it's a scam. Maybe it's to get them to vote a certain way. We're just at the beginning of a really, really dangerous period with this stuff. And the sophisticated profiles that they're building up, that they can build up on these people, I would be very worried for that person if that was their only source of connection.
Madeline, do you have a cell phone?
So, Ying, I know you wanted to jump in here.
Again, I want to differentiate the AI problem and societal problem. So internet have privacy issue. You get a ransom wormware to hold you like basically threaten you. So I think it's not like AI not enhancing the society. It's AI moving so fast to the point, the policy, it's easy to argue. There's no policy in place to chasing the moving target. Are we going to just not do anything? Of course we're going to do something. But those are the things we are working on gradually, but we cannot deny AI is enhancing a large part of our life. So what we need to do as an educator, I think K-12, first we need to educate teachers, because kids are already using AI, you like it or not. So AI literacy, the benefit, the risk, we need to empower our teachers first. And even more important is policy making. Who's making policies? Oh, by the way, the people who make policies, they never use AI. They don't even know what is AI. Are you comfortable to giving your power to let them make policy for you? So they need to get training. They need to get their hands dirty to looking at all the algorithm. What is natural language processing? What is large language model? How the computer vision is working? How the robotic going to change the society? We need to instill the AI literacy from the top to bottom. Like all the politicians, the people who are making policies, who's going to influence our day-to-day lives, they need to learn what is AI. They need to know AI literacy. And university professors and K-12 teachers, we all need to learn AI literacy, know the risks and potential benefits. And that's obviously why we're all here, because we all care. People who don't care, they won't be in the room, probably. So we need to make sure people who are making policies regarding AI, they know what is AI. Okay.
So Ian, can I just follow up one thing quickly, because it's something we've talked about in the past, and I wonder if there's a cultural component to this, because you've mentioned to me that the idea of synthetic relationships in other parts of the world is much more common and accepted than it is in North America. So how much bias in our fear of this is coming from a cultural place?
Yeah, that's a great point, because if we're looking at different culture, we just reflect the popular culture, like for instance, the movies, the Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie, I'll Be Back, and all the robot gonna destroy humans, and all the popular cultures portrayed AI as dangerous, they're a threat, they're gonna wipe out the human societies. While in Eastern culture, for instance, Japan is really big for robotic because of their aging population. They incorporate AI in their day-to-day operations, and there's a lot of AI robot in the hospitals already. And in China, whether you like it or not, they start to incorporate AI tutoring into their K-12. And kids, as early as 6, 7 years old, they start to work along with AI to understand what AI is capable of doing, not capable of doing, weaknesses and strengths. So if we think 10 years down the road, is your workforce AI powered or is your workforce AI weakened? So that's a culture difference, because in popular culture in China, there's not always AI gonna wipe out the humanities. They perceive AI as a really, really powerful tool. And by the way, the World Health Organizations already have the AI research AI assistant on health, which is called Sarah. So AI is already being embedded in the society, and there's no way back. There's no denying of we need to incorporate AI, whether we're afraid of it or not. It's how we're going to rethink about the upcoming society, what the rules, regulations, and processes we need to change, how we can make sure we incorporate AI and not make our kids dumber because they use AI. There's always creative ways to use AI. If you don't want AI to agree with you, actually Nathan told me this. Nathan said, I told my AI to be very criticize everything I say. Give me the opposite examples. Don't agree with me. You can do that for use prompt engineering. And by the way, if you don't get good result, you need to learn prompt engineering. You need to tell the AI, say, if you want to come up with a social media post and say, you're the expert in marketing for 30 years. You have PhD in psychology. You have PhD in advertisement. You have PhD in sales. You have PhD in communication. And you've been working for Fortune 500 companies, and you designed the most award-winning social media posts, and now help me to come up with social posts for Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It will give you so much better outcomes. So AI is there. It's also how you use AI.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is true. AI is very critical of me. I take a lot of heat often. So Rob, I did want to throw to you, because there's an interesting element of this, is if we just approach this from a place of fear, and do we risk falling behind a little bit, especially of other cultures and other countries that are embracing it wholeheartedly?
Yeah, and I think that's what I actually wrote down when you were talking, because there are cases, like you said, that are using AI maybe to their fullest advantage and are actually doing really well with it. And the argument today, or the discussion today, is that is AI going to hurt humanity or help humanity? And my fear is that even though we're on stage and there's people, we have a smart audience seeing at what the responses are, right? We have people that are actually in UI or AI and they're using it, but guess what? The majority of the population doesn't have the knowledge, doesn't have the wherewithal to act. They are influenced by what we're seeing online. They are influenced by all the propaganda, and they are influenced to the deep fake. So my argument is that great, if Japan and China are using it well, I don't agree that North America is. And that's where I live right now, and this is where my kids are right now. So for me, I feel like fear, sometimes we need the fear to push. Like that's where I say we need some of that fear. I live in this space. Like I said, for a living, I teach AI and I work with clients on how to use AI, but that's for me is that you need to do it properly. You need to use these tools properly. You need to have a strategy in place on how to use it. Unfortunately, there's a big part of the population that doesn't have that is being influenced by what they're seeing online. They're being influenced from deep fakes, and that's my concern, is that yes, there are people that are doing it right. I feel like we're not there yet, and my concern is if we keep going down that path, fear might be the only thing we need to push it to get where we need to get to.
Thank you. So I am conscious that we are actually approaching the end of the debate, if you can believe it. We've been up here for an hour and a half already, if you can believe it. So I do have to move us along. I know this has been a really important and interesting conversation, but the conversation isn't quite over yet because I am going to ask everyone to give their kind of final thoughts, a couple of key things that you want the audience to take away at the end of this conversation, this debate. I would, Rob, maybe we can start with you, and we'll go in the same order that we did for the opening statements.
Sounds great, yeah. First of all, I thank everyone for being here because I think it's really important to have these discussions and have these debates. We were all friends before we started the debate. I don't know. The green room might be really quiet when we go back there, but I'm just kidding. I think this is, kudos to the UBC for putting this on because we got to have these discussions. And to me, the debate today isn't can AI write faster or diagnose quicker, and is AI, is there an advantage to it? Absolutely, it 100% can if it's implemented properly and with strategy, and we take the cautious approach on what it could do. The real question is what happens when we start outsourcing the very things that make us human, thinking, exercising judgment, taking responsibility, or working through messy relationships. It's okay. That's part of how we grow as humans, is having arguments. Ask my wife, we do it all the time. Trust isn't a luxury to me in society, right? Trust is what we're built. It's the infrastructure of what makes society. And to me, expertise isn't wasted. So when we start replacing junior jobs with AI, or we blame AI for it, we're losing that expertise that gets carried forward, okay? So human relationships aren't a friction that we want to eliminate. They're how we learn accountability, empathy, and restraint. Okay? And once this trust erodes, once the pipeline that builds real expertise shrinks, and once responsibility becomes harder to locate, those are things that you just can't rebuild overnight. AI may absolutely enhance tasks. I'm not arguing that. But if we adopt it carelessly and at scale as a substitute rather than a support, because there's a difference there, we risk diminishing the very foundation of what makes human what we are. Okay? So AI may absolutely enhance tasks, but we have to be careful in how we do this and how we implement it. And those are the foundation, and those foundations are a lot harder to rebuild than a spreadsheet in your office. Okay? So I thank you guys very much for coming today. I think these are really important discussions to have. We will be still friends after, I promise. So thank you guys for coming. I think we just want to make sure that when we're implementing these tools, we're implementing them properly in our day-to-day lives in our company. So.
Thank you, Rob. So, Bulent, let's go to you next. Just your final thoughts to leave the audience with tonight.
All right. Well, first of all, we need to really think about who we are and whether we are really replaceable or not. With our qualities, currently, we are not replaceable because we do have experiences. We do have qualities that come from lived experiences with feelings. Any algorithm can describe you what love is, but it cannot tell you what a touch is. So you need to really rely on your human qualities. That's very important. The second thing is, this is not happening for the first time. Technology is scary. There are lots of people, there are lots of snake oil salesmen around trying to sell you AI or anything else. They are trying to scare you, or they are trying to show you the rosy part of the world. This is not real AI, or this is not real motivation that you can start with. A lot of things can enhance or diminish your AI experience or your human life. But one thing certainly diminish: resistance to change. That is going to diminish your experiences for all.
Thank you. And so you heard it here. We are not replaceable. So Leslie, I hope you're still in the audience. I'm not replaceable. Madeline, over to you.
Yeah, so tonight you've heard a lot from me and Rob about the perils of AI, and I hope that we've convinced you to be very worried about the effect of AI on human well-being. There's good reason to be very worried. Things are moving fast, we're being exposed to risks, to our personal autonomy in democratic institutions with very few protections. You might even think that there's nothing that you can do to stop this, so this view is sometimes known as techno-fatalism, and I don't think it's right. And so I don't want you to walk away with that view. It's a great viewpoint to encourage people to do nothing and to make them feel helpless. And I don't think that is right. I want to end on a note of hope. You've heard a lot about the promise of AI, and the promise is also real, but we're not going to get there without shifting gears. We need to make sure people are talking about these issues and are aware of big picture threats. We need to exercise our power, both as consumers of many of these AI products and as voters and citizens. We need clear frameworks to protect our institutions and make AI truly trustworthy. Thank you.
And Ying, final word goes to you.
Okay, great. Again, I want to thank audience for your engagement, and I also want to thank my friends. They're still friends. Awesome evidence and argument points. I think no one in this room will say, oh, AI is only good or bad. Everyone knows the plus and cons of the ups and downs and the pros and cons of AIs. So we talk about AI benefit, but we also need to really aware the potential risk and the downsides of AI. What I want to emphasize is everyone in the room, we need to start to adapt in this changing world. If you're looking at the AI, text-based in AI, in the past we talk about month, of 6 months, 3 months. No, now we're talking about weeks, the launching new models. So if you haven't get your hands dirty, get your hands dirty. Practice. And don't just watch YouTube videos, really just practice. Like my student used Lovable to build a full functionally website, beautifully website in a couple of hours. So if my student can do that, you can do that too. So adapt to the changing world, really understand what is AI, so how it works, what is benefit, what is the potential risks. And also, if you are parents or if you're teachers, focusing on human values. And a lot of schools in France, in Europe, in Australia, even some of the US schools, they banned smartphone. Why? Because of smartphone addiction issues. So they make kids have to think in using their brain, have to work using their hands. So we need to keep our human values, communications, emotional intelligence, empathy, and even suffering. It's unique to human. AI cannot do that. So we need to keep our human values, and we have to trust human, not trust AI or AI process. And at the end, I really hope we can all get together, build a positive AI-powered human society. Thank you.
I want to just reiterate one more time that we asked the debaters here to stand on stage and take positions on either side, knowing full well that their actual positions are much more nuanced. So they do this in order to create an entertaining and informative experience for our audience. So I really do thank you for playing along with us and for bringing some really great arguments to the table. I really appreciate it. I do have one final question for the audience. You guys are not off the hook yet. I need you to pull out your phones one more time. We do have another Slido question to close out the evening. So we're going to pull it up on the screen right now. And that is, how do you think AI will impact your human experience? And I hope that these questions also continue into the foyer afterwards. We are going to gather out there, so these are meant to provoke conversation. With that, let's see our results. Oof! Pretty good. So I think it's a pretty decisive audience. We have a very optimistic and a very tool-centered audience, which is great. So thank you very much for sharing your opinions about all of this. We've covered a lot of ground. We've been given quite a lot to consider. Let me say in closing how terrific it's been to share this Sunday afternoon with you. I really am grateful to everyone for spending their Sunday afternoon with us, for exploring your thoughts, challenging your perspectives, opening your minds on this important topic. So thank you again for being part of this afternoon's discussion, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.